Hold it. Out through the mouth. Do it again. In through the nose. Hold it. That's a very easy relaxation technique. Just doing about 2 or 3 breaths, you can find yourself nearly getting into meditation mode. I mean, it'd be real easy to do that today. We'll do that all next month. But I want everybody relaxed and in the flow today, and I know that you are. I bless you for being here today. You could have been a lot of other places, but you're here. And I appreciate it. And you bring something to the mix that we can't have without you here. Your whatever your impartation is. Even if you don't say a word, it's just your energy being here. You add something. You add color to the tapestry. It's like a beautiful covered dish dinner, and we need whatever sauce you brought. We need it for the table. All right, we're in agreement. Please remain standing for this, for the YouTubians.
Hello, and welcome to Metron. Metron means measure and sphere of influence, and we want to help you find your Metron. Through motivation, enlightenment, transcendence, renewal, outreach, and networking. We're excited to have you here today, and hope you enjoy the service.
Good morning. Welcome to Metron. Give yourselves a big hand for being here. Welcome to the cyber congregation. That always surprises me. But it doesn't happen every week, but about every other week I'll get some text from somebody that streams that I had no idea even, that I haven't seen in years. They just pick up the conversation like we've talked in the last decade. Like, wow, it was a really great message today. I'm like, you're still alive? Okay, well, yay. I mean, you haven't heard from somebody for a long time. Like, are they still with us or what? And they are. So whoever you are that I haven't seen since the 90s, hey. It just really surprises me because sometimes I think, nobody's watching this. And then I think, I better be careful what I say. There's no telling what anecdote I might be using that somebody will say, I heard you talking about me today. You'll notice I never use names. But definitely categories. It's been a pleasure having Chelsea Shag this month. She always brings a very special energy. It's not just, obviously she's talented, but it's more than that. It's like I look for lack of a better term, there's a life force that needs to be in somebody's music. That's what I respond to. I mean, I appreciate a good voice. I appreciate being able to play well an instrument. But I've heard some people do it well, but it wasn't communicating to me. I'm like, wow, that's incredible what you did, but I didn't connect with it. From the first time I heard Chelsea strum a guitar, I was like, oh, okay, whatever that is, that's cool. I like that. And she brings an honesty to the music that I find very refreshing. And so it's been a pleasure to have her this month. And this will be the last time we see her for a minute. I don't know when we'll have her back, but I'm always glad when the planets line up and we're able to have her. And this month was one of those months. So let's finish it up as it should be. Without any further ado, would you please welcome the one, the only Chelsea Shag.
Thank you so much. Coming to the end of Black History Month, and I wanted to sing this song by Sam Cooke that just was going to release before he passed away. And when he explained the song before he passed, he said he felt like it was for somebody else. Like it kind of came through him. It was the easiest song he had ever written, and it gives me chills just thinking about it. But it's called A Change Is Gonna Come. I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, just like that river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know, change gon' come. Ah, yes it will. It's been too hard to live in, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's out there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know, change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. So now I go to my brother, and I said, brother, help me. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there's been times when I thought I wouldn't last long. Now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know, change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. I said a change is gonna come. I said a change is gonna come. Yes it will, yes it will, yes it will. I said a change is gonna come. Yes it will, yes it will. Oh, yes it will. Thank you guys so much. This one I kind of want your help with. I'm gonna start a cappella. It's a song called Do You Realize by the Flaming Lips. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's a very, very beautiful song if you want to check it out. If y'all could snap with me. Do you realize that you have the most beautiful face? Do you realize we're floating in space? And do you realize that happiness makes you cry? Do you realize that everyone you know someday will die? And instead of saying all of your goodbyes, let them know you realize that time goes fast. It's hard to make the good things last. You realize the sun does go down. It's just an illusion caused by the world spinning by. And do you realize, do you realize that you have the most beautiful face? Do We're floating in space. Do you realize the happiness makes you cry? Do you realize that everyone you know someday will die? And instead of saying all of your goodbyes, let them know you realize that time goes fast. It's hard to make a good thing last. Realize the sun doesn't go down. It's just an illusion caused by the world spinning by. We're floating in space, literally. Like, what? That helps me sweat off the small things, you know? This next song is a song I wrote called No Room for Doubt. Now that I sucked the poison out, I can't leave no room for doubt. No, ain't God chained to me. I can be my own company, and I can like my own company. No, I don't know what time it is, and I couldn't care less what time it is. I got something to wake up for. My gigs at night and I done my chores. My gigs at night and I done my chores. Thank you, honey, for setting me free. This heartbreak's the greatest thing that happened to me. How will I know what I was missing before? I can see the world now better than before. Ooh, and I know some days my heart was cold. Didn't want you to see me so vulnerable. But when I'm determined, I lose all shame. To get your attention, I'd do anything. 'Cause your attention meant everything. But now I plant my seed and I watch it grow. I let a little more of my love go. I watch my love fall from where you stand. I reached out and caught it with my hand. I reached out and saved it with my hand. Thank you, honey, for setting me free. This heartbreak's the greatest thing that happened to me. How would I know what I was missing before? I could see the world now better than before. Ooh, 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 ooh. And I don't know where we stand now that I'm with all your heart in my hands. Saw you pass me just the other day. I could've said hey, but I walked away. I could've said hey, but I walked away. Thank you, honey, for setting me free. This heartbreak's the greatest thing that happened to me. How would I know what I was missing before? Thank you, honey, for setting me free. This heartbreak's the greatest thing that happened to me. How would I know what I was missing before? I could see the world now better than before. Ooh.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, y'all. And I thought, you know, since we're closing out the month, I'm going to play our favorite song.
Come on, Jesus.
And it's a good day for singing a song, and it's a good day for moving along, and it's a good day. How could anything be wrong? It's a good day from morning till night. And it's a good day for shining your shoes, and it's a good day for losing the blues. Everything to gain and nothing to lose. It's a good day from morning till night. And I said to the sun, good morning, sun, yeah, rise and shine today. You know you got to get going if you're gonna make a show, and you got the right away, baby, yeah, 'cause it's a good day for paying your bills, and it's a good day for carrying your ills. So take a deep breath and throw away the bills, 'cause it's a good day from morning till night. Morning sun, I said good morning sun, yeah, rise and shine today. You know you got to get going if you're gonna make a show, and you got the right away, baby, 'cause it's a good day, yeah, for paying your bills, and it's a good day for carrying your ills. So take a deep breath and throw away the bills, 'cause it's a good day from morning till night. 'Cause it's a good day from morning till night. Can y'all sing it with me? 'Cause it's a good day from morning till night. I said, good day from morning till night. Yeah, 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 yeah. 'Cause it's a good day from morning till night. Hey, I can't hear you. Good day from morning till night. I still can't hear you. Morning till night. 'Cause it's a good day from morning until night.
Yay!
Thank you guys so much. I love you. I love you.
Chelsea
Love y'all.
Shag, baby. Chelsea Shag.
Love y'all so much.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Love it. Wait, I think I have the interpretation for that message in tongues she gave in the middle of the... What? I saw Avery kept pointing over here. I'm like, what are you pointing at? What, did y'all stay in Atlanta last night? Yeah. Because Robbie Joe I saw him here last night at Alvin Ailey. I mean, I saw the picture of him at Alvin Ailey. Out with some woman. I saw him in a picture with a woman. I'm like, what the what? He got delivered. Well, I'm so glad you're here. You want to come sit here? You like being back there? All right. If you don't know, I was just love that last post you did about the truth about on both sides, Republicans and Democrats. That was good. We were driving back. I actually called Robert and told him this. This is an apolitical statement, but we were driving back from Chattanooga last night. Right about Dalton, there is a ginormous, what do you call them? Billboard. It said, "Every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, including Democrats." And I thought, why have you made I mean, Jesus isn't either political party, but I guess. But anyway, I love what you posted. That was good. Well, hey, everybody. Tell somebody you're good. Don't just hug them. Not these days. You can't just go in for a hug. You got to ask, like a TSA agent. Is it okay if I hug you here? And then you may be seated. If you don't know, that was the one and only Robert Rutherford I was just talking to. I'm glad that you're here. Hey, Pam, good to see you. Larry, Chandra, glad you're here. The play looks cool. Looks cool. Looks like you're having a good time. Are you still in the run, or is it over with now, or what? I look, when I introduce Chandra and I say star of television, stage, and screen, that's not an overstatement. She's yeah. If you ever get a chance, I think most of you have seen her perform live with a band, but then as an actress, it's a whole other thing that she does, and comedian, and I've said this before, but this is the mark of a good actress. I actually watched. Is it for better? For better or for worse. I actually watched it for a few minutes before it dawned on me you were Miss V. I kept looking at Miss V, and I thought, why does this woman seem so familiar to me? Because I knew you were in the show, and I kept going, well, when did Chandra show up? And oh my God, that's her. Which to me, that's what Meryl Streep does, is she disappears into a character. I said, yeah, I know you're a comedian in that, but that's really a sign of a good actress that you can, yeah, so there you have it. Anyway, I'm glad y'all are here. Great energy. Loved everything. I love that she's saying change is going to come. So Sam Cooke. Oh, I love Sam Cooke. Don't make me come back there. Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful song. And I didn't realize that he had written that so close. I know they put it on an album, but I didn't realize it was so close to his death. Very good cover. Okay, our outreach this month is the St. Jude Children's Hospital. I think that money's already been sent, so thank you for your support of that. This is the second time we've supported them, and certainly valid. I'm assuming you all know this, but this is a children's hospital, primarily cancer hospital. They treat other things, but mostly children's cancer. And Danny Thomas started it back in the 60s, I guess. And it's nobody has to pay for anything. Like it's all funded by the support of people like us that give to it. So that's awesome. I mean, they even when families go up there, they even cover their food and everything. It's extraordinary. It's what the church should do. But you know how that is. We had buildings to build, so we couldn't help. We couldn't deal with things like children's cancer. Our meditation weekend number 10 is coming up. March the 28th, the 29th. We'll do a sunset and a sunrise. Again, it's going to be in beautiful Callaway Gardens. I'm pretty sure most of you have already gotten a room because y'all were getting rooms before I had made this a firm announcement. I just wrote, I'm thinking about this. And like 10 minutes later, people are like, I've already got my room. I'm like, I didn't say. Wow. But it's going to be it's going to be a really good one, and I just believe we'll hit it just right with the right about that time of year. Callaway Gardens is like Technicolor with mostly azaleas, but it's also tulips and dogwoods, and it's spectacular. So I think the room we got, it's some package that it comes with the they call it what's the thing you did? Not what? Yeah, they call it zip line. It comes with the package, but it's much more. That we did it when we first met. We both paid for it to go, and it was like an obstacle course. I said, I just want to hang on and fly. I don't want to have to do all that stuff. And he did it. I took videos of it and posted them. So I'm not going to do it. If anybody wants to, it's paid for in my room. If you want to do my zip line, I just wanted to relax and hold on and go, oh wow, it's beautiful. I didn't know I was going to have to climb through things, and that's no, thank you. Our year of living your best life. Several of you observed this week, so all your stuff looked innovative and delicious. That was I was at Whole Foods this week. That's purple cauliflower. I'd never seen it before. It's cool. There's a whole theory about eating colors. You know why you need certain things. Each color has there's a reason why it's that color. Carrots are orange because of the beta carotene, and that's why dark greens are better for you than even like cabbage. I love cabbage, but it's the darker a vegetable is, the whatever makes it good for you, there's more of it in that vegetable. They were kind of raw. They weren't. They looked prettier than they were. I ate them, and I was going for an eat the rainbow kind of thing. That thing, the leafy thing, was good. It was called winter greens. It was bok choy and spinach and celery, and it had a really cool ginger dressing on it. That was delicious. I love artichoke hearts. I get those a lot. What Beyond Meat? So that's all plant based? Because it looks like meat and potatoes. How was it? How was it? Yeah. It's different. Like sometimes I've gotten that Impossible Whopper, and it's good. It tastes like a veggie burger though. When people go, I can't tell the difference. I'm like, yeah, you could. It does not taste like a Whopper, but it's good. I mean, that's just a lie. I can't tell the difference. Like, yes, you can. But yeah, that was good. Ernie's quite the chef. So. Well, dark chocolate. Now the sugar, you got to deal with that. But dark chocolate's actually good for you. It's antioxidant, and dark chocolate's a little bit's good with you. Good for you. So that's good. What? Oh, did you say? Was that a? You don't even have to tell me. I knew. I can only imagine where your mind went for that. Lord Jesus, help us. I have my work cut out for me. BJ, hush. Hush and take pictures. Oh, Lord, help me. All right. I think that is everything. So thanks for coming. Drive safely. Y'all ready for the word? All right. Let's get started for the podcast people. Welcome to the Metron Live podcast, coming to you from beautiful historic Midtown Atlanta, Georgia. Metron people, give the podcast people a big hand and welcome them. Thank you. I love podcasts. I mean, when we call this a podcast, we're being loose with the interpretation, because a real podcast you do in speaking to a microphone in a studio, like an interview kind of thing. But they're free and they're really cool. Like I go to sleep nearly every night. There's several that I listen to, especially when my neighbors are fighting like they were last night. I just put in my AirPods and go, oh, let there be peace on earth. I want to go over there and knock on the door and go, what the heck is wrong with y'all? But I don't want to get shot, because I don't want to get in the middle of somebody's drama and then turn on me. But, whoo, Lord, pray for my neighbors. A couple of weeks ago, they fought for so many hours. I thought, how do you have that much? How can you go at it for that many hours? Like I'd finally hear them settle down and think, okay, well, they've either gone to sleep or they've killed each other. And then like, nope, there they go again. And my walls are thick. It's like, I mean, you got to really be loud. You don't really hear anybody else. But I can't quite make out what they're saying, but whatever it is, they ain't happy about it. No. They're not together anymore, but he lives on the other side. But no. But he does have a crying baby next to him that he does hear. So there's that. You know what? You can't have it all. I mean, that's just part of that's just the thing. You got a view. Yep. I'm on a podcast. I should be talking about that. Why did I bring that up? Oh, AirPods, listen to podcasts. Got it. Thank you. And I may call on you several times today. Between my neighbors fighting last night and being up with my dad all night the night before, I'm a little sleep deprived, so I'm fine. Wait, what? Did I do? Robert, I don't know if you've ever done this, but if you've ever been really tired or something and you're teaching, and sometimes you say something and people are laughing, and you're like, what did I just say? Because I didn't mean it to be funny, but like, am I making sense? Has that ever happened to you? I've really enjoyed this series and have walked it out. I mean, even yesterday we weren't gonna haven't been able to drive out of town much in recent months, and yesterday we had planned to just drive up to Chattanooga for the day, and then with some of the issues with my folks, I said, I can't get out of town. But then I talked to Mom, and they were better, and I thought, well, they can make it through the day. So I said, this is later than we planned on going, but if you're still up for it, let's just get in the car and go. We did, and it was one of those things. It's not even profound enough for me to articulate it and tell you everything that happened. It was just one of those synchronistic days where you just hit everything at exactly the right time. It was just like boom, 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 just worked out perfectly, and I love it. And all week people have sent me text or messages saying this thing happened. It's not noticeable enough for me to post about it online, but I just wanted to tell you this. And sometimes people ask me, "Do you think that's synchronicity?" And I'm like, you know what? When it's really synchronicity, you don't have to ask. It's so obvious. It's such a confirmation that you're in the zone, that you're in the flow, and so I want to end this month with some practicality, because here's the thing. You know, the Einstein quote that I refer to all the time: 2 ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. The flip side to that is you can't read too much into synchronicity. You have to find the balance with it, because you can get to a place where you become so introspective and you examine everything, and sometimes you project something onto something and make it mean something that it actually didn't mean. And I don't know how to teach you how to find that equilibrium, because it's something you have to figure out for yourself. I don't know how to define synchronicity exactly, and I've shown you some of these Carl Jung definitions or whatever, but I know it when I see it. And I know when something happens and I think, no, that was a synchronistic moment. It's something, they're not here today, I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying this, but I've known Freddie and Roz for years, and they're super faithful or whatever. And so, sometimes Roz, because she knows me so well, she busts my chops on something. We have a running joke about me retelling stories, and I've joked with her about it, whatever. And then she got to a point where she really felt like she had offended me, and so she said, she had sent me a text. She said, "It hurts my heart to think that I would have offended you." I'm like, Roz, dear Lord, do you know the stuff that's been said to me? You'd have to do so much more for the offense meter to even begin to move. Besides which, I think you'll understand this. When you've been showing up for years and tearing down equipment and doing all this stuff, I'll especially let you slide on some stuff. You know what I mean? Because I judge that according to your faithfulness. Obviously, you love me, or y'all wouldn't be here like that. But it was one of those things. You know how when you feel like you've offended somebody, and I was not offended. I mean, I am a little sensitive about retelling my stories, because I know that I do. I mean, I've been preaching for 48 years. I mean, you repeat yourself a lot. And I also, I love comedy routines, and I listen to the same ones over and over again. They make me laugh when I hear them. Even there's this comedian, I love this guy, Gary Goldman, and I went to hear him a few years ago over here at Laughing Skull. And the crowd wasn't all that with him. I mean, you could tell it was kind of a late night crowd, and they were drinking, and they weren't, I go into a comedy thing like, please make me laugh. I want to laugh. So I'm a great audience member. So at a certain point, Ross, come in. I'm talking about you as you come in, so it's all good. I just spoke you into existence. I'll wait till Fred gets in here. So come on in whenever. But like he was talking, and he said, I don't know. Does anybody know my material? What should I talk about? Yeah, well, I knew his stuff. I listened to him on XM radio a lot. So I said, do that thing about the cookies that you do. That's really funny. And it was funny. And he told it, and it killed. And then he started asking me, he said, now what should I do? I said, do that one where you and your girlfriend had the fantasy that you were the college professor and she was one of your students. It's not dirty. It was funny. And he told that. And I thought, he said, afterwards I met him, he said, well, you really know my routines. I said, I listen to you a lot. I said, they make me laugh over and over again. So some stories deserve to be repeated, but there they are. So, Roz, I'm telling about what happened last week. You cool with that? Okay. So she was concerned that, I hope I haven't offended you. And I'm like, oh, please, no, we're good. But this is what was interesting, and this is one of those things that it's very subtle, and but after it's the first time we'd seen each other in person after that exchange, and she came up to me and she said, I want you to notice the color of the shirt, the sweater I'm wearing. And it was the same color of the shirt I was wearing. And then she pointed to her pants, and they had the exact, I wore this plaid jacket last week, and it looked like we had coordinated. It looked like if we were going to be in a singing group, we had like basically the exact same thing on. And we hugged, she started crying, and I knew, without us saying anything, I knew it's like, no, that's a synchronistic way of us tapping into something that's deeper than apologies or whatever. It's like, you can say, well, y'all just pick the same color. No, I'm not. Well, I don't know. You got on Burberry and you got on Burberry. I mean, there's a little Burberry thing going on today. But because of the timing of that, I thought, no, that's synchronistic. That's something bigger than us saying, y'all are cool. Y'all are in the flow. And we probably should have taken a picture of it because we had like the exact same thing on. And so that's the kind of thing, it's the timing of something. It's when it happens that you think, well, that's interesting that happened right now. There's a couple of verses of scripture. Ecclesiastes 3 is beautiful. That's the famous to everything there is a season, the first 8 verses of Ecclesiastes 3. But there's 2 other verses. I've always loved the way the Amplified Bible translates them. I want to show you. This is, go back, Michelle, sorry. For the podcast people, the title is Synchronicity in Spirit, Living, Moving, and Having Your Being in the Supernatural. We've talked all about Acts 17:28 and all that. But this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11 and verse 15 in the Amplified Classic. It says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. That right there is such an important message. Recently, somebody posted that I think a parent had passed on who was very elderly and had suffered a long time. And I was reading people's comments, and so many people were saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss, so sorry for your loss." And I thought, that's not the right response. What you need to say is praying for the family or peace to you and your family, but don't be sorry for them. This person lived a good long life and they were past due, ready to go. I knew the situation enough that I wanted to say, congratulations, just because it was just great for everybody concerned. And there's a reason why the proverb says a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. It's the timing of saying something. It's when the scripture talks about a word in season. It's like it's not just what you said, it's when you said it. It's the timing of it. And when he says here he's made everything beautiful in its time, you could kind of say that about everything. Like there's some things that when they're premature, like I've done funerals for young people. Last night I have a whole nation of people that used to go to church in the now, don't come here, don't go to Judah's church, but they still consider me their pastor, and I've just made peace with it. It's like, well, it just is what it is. That's the way you see it. I think the statute of limitations has made it pretty clear I'm not your pastor anymore, but I guess, okay. And even last night, somebody had messaged me and said, can you please write something to my spouse, because it was the anniversary of a death of their son. And I'm not sure I said what preachers are supposed to say, because it was a very tragic death, and it was the second anniversary of it. And I can't say to this person, rejoice there on streets of God. It's too soon. What I said is, I could tell you I'm praying for you, but I can't imagine what that would be like to go through that with a child. So my prayer is going to be limited at that. What I can tell you, I said, and I mean, yeah, I'll pray for you, but it's going to be a tough night for you. It just is. And I said, Jesus asked for his disciples to wait with him outside the Garden of Gethsemane, but he had to go in and sweat drops of blood. I said, the best any of us can do. I said, I can't say anything to make it better. I can't say anything to make it make sense, because it was a suicide. I said, I can't make anything make sense of that. So the best any of us can do is wait outside the gate with you, and as you sweat your drops of blood through your night of agony, and weeping may endure for the night, but joy will come in the morning. Because that's realistic. And I remember I had to do a funeral for, and Robert and I have had these conversations lots of times. Usually we call each other after the latest funeral we've done for somebody that didn't pay us. We're like, he's like, did they at least cover your expenses? You drove to Alabama? No. I'm like, ooh. Bet they paid the undertaker, but they don't pay the preacher. Anyway, but that's our drama. But it was like a kid in the church that had died in a car accident, and I was sharing the funeral with their previous pastor, and he was up there saying, God had a plan, God had a reason, God needed him in heaven. I'm like, this isn't. If that was my 16-year-old, you would turn me into an atheist. So when I got up, I said, look, in all due respect to brother so and so, I'm not trying to undo your message. I said, let me say, I don't want to be here. I hate this. I hate this for y'all. This is devastating. I can't tell you I can tell you, yeah, he's still alive. Yeah, you'll see him again. But I don't think that's going to really help you today. So let's remember what was good about his life. I'm not going to, if you're waiting for me to make you feel better about this, I'm the wrong guy, because I hate it for you. And if it was my son, I'd be too angry at the powers that be to put a smile on my face and act like I'm cool with this. And so, and you could see religious people are shocked. Boy, when you bring truth into religion is based so much on a lie that when you come into a religious system and speak the truth, it's like an injection of penicillin. It's like the disease starts like freaking out, because everybody's looking like, oh my God, he's telling the truth. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I was in church, the one place in the world where you can't tell the truth. But I digress. So in what you call an untimely death, I'm like, no, that wasn't beautiful. I mean, in the long run, yeah, you'll make peace with it. I don't know if you'll make peace with it. You'll learn to live with it. And you'll figure out how life goes on. It's different when somebody's lived a long life and they're ready to go and they want to go see the relatives on the other side. That's not a sad thing. I mean, that's just not. And but it's the timing of something. I mean, I tell you this, I've seen some married couples that just lived in hell for so many years and couldn't get it right, that when they finally divorced, I was happy for them. I wanted to go, well, I hope both of y'all find some peace now. And like I could say, well, the Bible says God hates divorce. Read that whole chapter. Read that thing in context. I think divorcees would agree, like, yeah, it stinks, even when there's no other option. Yeah, it's still difficult. But sometimes it's necessary. I'm not going to tell you that. No, I've told you. Okay. When I was in college, it was a professor I had, very legalistic man. And one of my friends was a girl that was married to the guy who was like he was the most celebrated. Like he was going to be a missionary, and they'd have him preach in chapel, and he was the golden boy. He was the one that all of us got compared to. Like, well, you need to have an anointing like him. Well, she told me that on their wedding night, he pulls out a gun, and he says, the Bible says you have to submit to me, and if you ever don't, I will shoot and kill you. And he would go preach in chapel and then go beat the hell out of her at home over and over again. So when she went to our professor to say, I don't know what to do because I'm being abused, he said, well, you can't divorce him because divorce is a sin. So it would be better for you to let him kill you so you could go to heaven than for you to divorce him and then you spend eternity in hell. I dropped the man's class. I thought, I can't sit in this man's class. If that's who God is, then give me some brochures on atheism, because I want to opt out. I don't want to be. Don't call me, for goodness sake, don't call me Christian. And so when I started counseling with people, I found I was sometimes too honest for church world. Because sometimes people would come and tell me something, and I think, well, I get it. I'm sorry you got yourself in this trouble, but I understand why it happened. But everything is beautiful in its time. Sometimes a divorce is bittersweet relief. It's like, well, I hate that this happened, but man, nothing else was working. And if you say, well, what did Bishop talk about there? He talked about why you should divorce your spouse. That is not what I said, you liar. Well, sometimes you have to say something shocking. I mean, as I've gotten older, I just see everything much more simple and basic terms. Like I think if you just hate something about your life, then get out of it. Well, I just hate my job. Well, then do what you want to do. Well, I couldn't make as much money. Look, I make considerably less than I made when I pastored church, and I'm fine. My life is scaled down, but I'm fine. Already. Do you know how happy I am that I don't have to worry about 43 acres every day morning when I wake up and how we're going to maintain it? My loft has 800 square feet. I love every square foot of it because I already had a big house with 3 and a swimming pool that I had to figure out how to. It was something. If any of y'all ever had a swimming pool, it's something all the time. Swam in it once a year, maybe. Switched from chlorine to salt water. Didn't make it any easier. Middle of the night, the Polaris is jammed again. I'm like, why do I have a pool again? I don't want a pool. If you want one, enjoy. I already had all of that. I'm in a very different place now. Even with neighbors that argue at night, I'm like, it's fine because I don't want. I've lived in suburbia next door to neighbors that had dogs that barked all night. So it's it's not just because I live in a building. So I'm to a point now where I think, well, find where abundant life is for you, and if you don't like it, like sometimes there's people that I know disagree with what I teach, and they'll still watch Metron, and they want to challenge me on things. And I think, why don't you watch something else? Because I show no signs of moving back toward the center. So it's not going to get any better. If anything, I'm more outspoken as I get older. So I'm not your guy. Why do you irritate yourself? Well, you just don't preach enough against sin. There's so many places that do. There's plenty of sin preachers. I'm not ever going to do that. So if you keep waiting for me to, to get you, ain't going to happen. Go be happy somewhere. See, that's the problem. So many people left me over the years and they weren't happy when they left, but they were too prideful to say, I made a mistake. And I'm like, ain't no sunshine when I'm gone. I tried to tell you. Yeah, you got to put up with some foolishness. Not even foolishness. You got to put up with my jokes and my stories. But when I land the plane, you know I'm reading your mail. You know when I get in the zone, you're like, my God, he did it again. How did he know? He has made everything beautiful in its time. He also has planted eternity in men's hearts and minds, a divinely implanted sense of a purpose working through the ages, which nothing under the sun but God alone can satisfy. Yet so that men cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. That which is now already has been, and that which is to be already has been. And God seeks that which has passed by so that history repeats itself. This is a very interesting translation of this because this is the conclusion I've come to. If a thing keeps happening in your life over and over again, you need to find out what you're doing to continue that cycle. And if you just cannot figure out how you're causing it to happen, then you need to figure out what is this thing trying to teach me that I'm obviously not getting. Because I've gone around Sinai for 40 years now, and I'm still not getting it. Again, when Joshua, after 40 years in the wilderness, and that first generation had died off, it's Joshua chapter 6 says he comes back to Jericho, and it says, Jericho, King James says, was straightly shut up. No one went in, no one went out. And God, it's the only time I've ever seen exclamation point in the King James Version. God says, see, exclamation point, I have given you the city. It's a test because you want to look at it and go, no, you haven't. It looks exactly like it looked 4 decades ago. But Joshua and the people who had remained learned, he wants us to say he's given us the city, even though he really hadn't given us the city. And so that's when the Israelites were able to go into Canaan. Because Joshua and Caleb gave the good report 40 years earlier. But if that crowd had started the murmuring business again, here we go, 40 more years around Sinai, because y'all still didn't get it. You ever had somebody that just stays in your life? You're like, good God, I can't get rid of them. At some point, you have to think, is there something I'm supposed to be learning from this person? Because the more what you resist persists. I know James says, resist the devil and he'll flee from you. And I think that's why so many Christian churches are so devil-minded, because they've spent so much time resisting this sinister power. They've actually made it stronger than it ever should have been. Their own resistance has done just the opposite. It hasn't made the devil flee. The devil has permeated their consciousness. So I've said all that to say, when it says history repeats itself, sometimes synchronicity, this is how I see it work in the positive. I've talked about life is a spiral, and you're either spiraling up or you're spiraling down, and the things that are going well for you, the more you talk them up, the more you're grateful, whatever, they get better and better. Every time I go to New York, it's a better trip. I think at a certain point, I'll go and the hotel will just say, you know what, we're going to just give you free room. Just post a picture of it on your Instagram or whatever. It wouldn't surprise me, because every time I go, it gets better, it gets better, it's better. I've seen the same thing happen with the meditation weekends, because they've taken on an energy of their own now. We talk about them. We we remember and we look at the pictures. Every time we go, it gets better and better and better. If a thing keeps happening in your life, sometimes it's a touchstone for you to say, either figure out a new way to respond to it or notice that you've really changed. Does that happen to you when something happens? You think, if this happened a year ago, I would have been a basket case, but I've either lost my mind or it's the peace that passes understanding, but I can't seem to get upset about this. Well, that's a good way that history has repeated itself to show you how far you've come. Understand? And sometimes synchronicity will be the signpost along those lines. Say, oh, look, you're back where you started from, and that's not a bad thing. There's power in a circle. There's power in a cycle. So now when I cycle, when I go, I'm going upward. Things are getting better. I'm going from glory to glory. The cycle is spinning in a positive direction. Let me show you this quote. There's several quotes I want to use. This is James Redfield. He says, as we blossom or awaken, we begin to notice there is a force in the world that seems to be operating and leading us into a certain destiny. And it's very much a kind of detective effort on our own part to figure out what these things mean. The synchronicity is essentially a meaningful coincidence that brings us information at just the right time. While leading us forward, it also feels very inspiring and destined in a way. It feels like we're on a path of unfolding in our own personal evolution. Have you ever had someone say something to you and it completely, for better or for worse, completely altered your relationship with that person? You understand why Jesus said, for this saying your daughter is made well. Most of the relationship counseling I've done over the years, when a couple split up, they nearly always would say, it was the day he said so-and-so. And when he said that, the light switched off, and I never could get it back. It would never be, it wasn't the infidelity, it wasn't the this, it wasn't the that. It was when he said that. It's like sometimes somebody will say, and sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes somebody will say something to you that you so needed to hear that you're like, I just fell in love with you from that thing that you just said, because you don't know how much I've needed somebody to say that thing, and I needed you to understand why that's important. When Ken and I first met, after Debbie and I weren't together anymore, I was in a relationship for about a year, and some of you knew him. And I was not promiscuous, but I dated a good bit. I mean, I was looking for, a relationship. And several people came to church. Y'all didn't know it because they were sitting back there in the back or whatever. You didn't know that I brought somebody to church, but that was kind of like, because sometimes I'd meet somebody down here and we'd strike up a conversation. I'd say, look, before this goes any further, there's this place, it's called Conyers, and there's all these people that call me Bishop, and there's these 4 people that call me Dad, and I'm not just some guy you met in Midtown. I've got this whole other big old life that comes with the territory. And there were a few of them that came out to church, and they liked it, but I could tell, like, whoa, this is too much. And so when I met Ken, there's no way you can't say to somebody, I need you to, if we're going to be together, I need you to support what I'm doing, because you want them to want to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I hope you get this. I was with someone that who would be home on a Wednesday night, and I'd come home and say, hey, did you stream the service? Like, no. Why would I? Oh, I don't know. I thought you might be interested in what I do. Guess not. Just a question. And and you can't say, I want you to watch it. It's like you want to be with someone that is interested in what you do. And so when we met, I was telling Ken, I said, my congregation is considerably smaller than it used to be. And he said, I grew up in a church that had 30 members, so to me this is the biggest church I've ever been in. I said, well, I'm just telling you, it's like it's considerably scaled down from what it was. And that was the time that we had gone to. We were meeting in other theaters. Then we went to Covington. And when we found the place in Covington, I said, look, we're probably going to have to go to 2 services because I can't get everybody in this place. And I said, I don't want you to feel obligated to sit through 2 services. And he said, if you did a service 9 times a day, I'd be at every one of them. And I said, and we have a winner. But I couldn't tell him, I need you to feel that way. When we came in here, I couldn't say, look, we're setting up and tearing down equipment, so if you could help. I can't tell him that. He just did it. And that's the kind of thing. It's like that's synchronicity that you look for. It's like, oh, that's what I'm looking for. That's what, and I mean, I had that before. I mean, obviously I was married to somebody who supported the ministry. It's not like I never had that. But when you finally have told who you really are and always have been, I mean always have been. Last night, I did not put this on their picture, but last night I was scrolling through and 4 guys I went to high school with had gotten together and they'd taken a picture and I wanted to go, that's pretty much all of my high school crushes in one picture. Like, wow. But I just said, good to see you guys together. Glad life's been good for you. Like, wow, that took me a minute. And I thought, this is who I have always been. And when you finally tell that, and people are like, oh, well, okay, whatever about your personal life, but it's what you do for me that I connected has nothing to do with that part of you. It's like, if anything, it makes me respect you more. I've told you this about Charles. Charles is married and has 4 children. Charles is a guy. I'm not saying gay men aren't guys, but I mean, he's like a guy. And when they first, he looked like a man. And he and Aaron came to church not long after I came out, and he said, we think you're our pastor. We want to join the church. And I said, my gaydar was not getting a read on him at all. And I said, I don't think you're gay. I said, why? Because he said, we saw your coming out video. I said, what? He said, no, I'm not that. He said, I've never heard a pastor tell the truth before. And he said, when I saw you had the nerve to do that, I thought, oh, well, I can trust him. There's my pastor. I was like, well, wow, okay. Real recognizes real. So my point is, yes, I've had support in the ministry, and that was awesome. And I had a wife that helped me definitely build that. I've admitted that for years. But to really be yourself, and you still have the God part, and you have somebody that you believe God brought you, who says, no, I'm supporting you because I'm just as called as you are. And doesn't have a desire to preach, but whatever I'm doing. And I tell you, when I really knew, a few weeks ago, when the little V situation came back, and I was taking Meclizine. And I was like, speaking to my body, and finally I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to church this morning. And I don't have a plan B. And I went and laid down. Next thing, a few minutes later, I see him stick his head around his bow tie on and said, I'm going to church. He came in and y'all had a service. And I was like, wow, I ended up with the right one. Because there were some people that if I'd been with them, they'd be like, what do you want me to do about it? I'm like, didn't mean to turn this into a tribute to you, but you deserve it. And that's why, as I've also told you, this has been a couple of years ago now, but I kept having chest pains one night, and I mean, they just would not go away. And finally he said, should we call something? I said, no, it's not my heart. I think it's stress. Or so. I said, my heart's fine. I said, it'll pass. And he came over and he said, now, Jesus, I'm going to need you to take this pain out of Jim's chest. I mean, he talked like people in Putnam County talk. Y'all do talk. I didn't say it was negative. Buddy, I want you to know, about 5 minutes later, I said, that pain's gone. I would have taken that over 100 Benny Hinn's. You know what I mean? Because it was real. I save that. I wait till something's really going on. Like, I need you to do that thing you do. Like, now, Jesus, I'm going to need you to, like, let's save that for when we really need it. Because it worked. But, I mean, you think about jobs that you've gotten or think like so many things have been because of synchronicity. It's like you just said the right thing at the right time. Classic example I referred to a minute ago, but, you know, the Syrophoenician woman comes to Jesus, said, I've got a daughter. She said she was demon possessed. Can you help me? And Jesus basically, insults her. I mean, he could have said, look, I haven't come for the Gentiles. I'm here for Israel. You know, give it some time. I'm going to go to the cross. I'll die. I'll come back. Then on the day of Pentecost, the entire world will embrace the Holy Spirit, and then maybe. And he actually says to her, why should I give the bread to the dogs? If you said that to somebody today, they'd be tweeting about it, and you'd be fired from whatever. You know, they would have fired Jesus. And the woman says, yeah, well, even the dogs get the crumbs from the table. And the way I pictured is Jesus looks at her like, wow. And he says, for this saying. He could have just as easily said, for this attitude, your daughter is made well. Because even if she had thought he was a racist, and I've got my own feelings about why he said that. Jesus had his own evolution. But what she was saying is, I don't even care if you're a racist. If you'll speak, my daughter's home tearing the curtains down off the living room window. Speak the word, you racist savior. And it was like, there's something so powerful about that. Yeah. And has been so sorely missing from the church. You think about people don't like a restaurant, still go back to it. Or they complain about something on their job, still show up for it. Something happens in church people don't like. And I don't just mean me. I mean, I've talked to people, like, you know, why did y'all stop going? Well, we went there for years and it was awesome. And then one day he said this. Wow, one day he said a thing and that was it? I don't ask for a show of hands. I am quite sure those of you that have heard me for any length of time have either heard me say something that you didn't agree with or didn't understand, or I said I didn't want hands. Some of y'all have said some pretty disagreeable things too. And I still showed up and visited you in the hospital. That street goes both ways. But there's bound to be something that you disagree with, even something that offended you. And you're like, well, that's what he said. Like, okay, whatever. Y'all ever going to go back there again? I love, what was it, Sonya told me one time. It was somebody you work with, or somebody said, y'all still, this is the way people say it in church, well, y'all still up under Bishop Swilley. Y'all still up under Bishop Swilley? And she said, yeah, we are, and we don't have anything to talk about. Okay? It was just like, yeah, we are, and that ain't none of your business, because I could tell you're about to bring me an attitude or an opinion that I didn't ask for, because I'm not asking you where you go to church. So, you know, there's a way that you could just say, yeah, we are. Bye-bye. Sonya said, because this ain't going to go well for you. Let me go to this next one. Donald Walsh, I've quoted him a lot. It says, don't dismiss the synchronicity of what is happening right now, finding its way to your life at just this moment. There are no coincidences in the universe, only convergences of will, intent, and experience. I'm not 100% on the everything happens for a reason thing. That I'm not totally comfortable with that. Because when you tell me a child was molested or a terrible, I don't want to say everything happens for a reason, because it makes it sound like God's playing chess with people's lives. I don't like that. I'm totally cool with all things work together for good. That I can embrace. When you say there are no coincidences, I might need to rightly divide that a little bit. However, I think too many things are chalked up to coincidence that are not. And this, again, I can't teach you how to recognize it. I can only say, be sensitive in your spirit to know when it's a coincidence and when it's just a thing that happened. Again, what I mentioned, what happened with us last week, with what we both wore. I could have, some of you might not have on jeans or whatever. That it may not be meaningful. That was meaningful because of the time of it. And so you think, well, no, that wasn't a coincidence. Because I wasn't even going to wear that last week. I was going to wear something entirely different. And I thought, no, I'm going to wear that. Because I feel like that jacket, I look too heavy in the pictures on that jacket. But I haven't worn it that much because I need to get some wear out of it. Thank you. Stop. So it was the fact that something in me said, no, wear that. And it was it a sign? Yeah, it wasn't like a life-changing sign. It was just like, yeah, we're cool. No other discussion needs to be. It's like, no, we're good. And here's a little synchronistic green light from the universe to say, yeah, you are. And your deep is still calling to deep no matter what. So you have to figure out where is it? Where is how much of it is my steps are ordered? And I tell you something else. I've got a little. I'm a little cautious with this concept. I understand what the Bible talks about with favor. I understand, bind mercy and truth about your neck will give you favor with God and man. I get all that. I don't like when people create a theology of favor that makes it look like God has favorites. Because I've seen good things happen to people that I wasn't all that happy for them. I'm like, really? Why is that so good for them? You know what I mean? And to realize, well, I guess I have to believe whoever, whatever God is, he, she, it loves that person as much as me. I mean, how many football games have been played with both sides praying that, they win? Well, which is it going to be? The ones that got favor? No. I mean, I've seen people that never pay tithes have fantastic lives. So there's always some exception to the rule. I know, probably shouldn't have said that. Like, don't say that. No, I want you to give here because you believe in it, not because you think a tree's going to fall on your house if you don't give. Well, and Jackie's a major giver, and she said, I've had a tree fall on my house. It wasn't the end of the world. Exactly. That's very next level. That's Jesus saying, let's go to the other side, not even asking about the weather, just like, well, the weather's a moot point. Yeah, very next level. But the idea that God gives some people favor, I'm not totally against it, but I've seen people be manipulative with it. Like, well, I've got favor. Well, let me tell you, the sun will shine on anybody that'll get out in it. I'm more persuaded, even though it's sobering sometimes to take ownership of your full life, I like to think that whatever happens, I'm making happen because of my vibration, because of my. That's not taking anything away from God. It's just that favor is nearly irrelevant to me. Do you know? It's like great things happen to me all the time, but I don't think it's because God decided, I'm going to favor him. I think it's, well, no, I've learned some things through my own trial and error that have taught me how to create this energy that brings coincidences and synchronicities and confirmations into my life. I love the mystery of figuring it out. And I'm willing to take the, if you're going to take the ownership, you got to take full ownership. You got to say, no, I've brought some things into my life that they just weren't cool. And I'm a big boy. I will own it. Yeah, I did that. Okay, fine. And goodness and mercy follow me all the days of my life to do damage control. So, yay. But I like to think, again, God's ultimate act of creativity is that the Creator created creators. I mean, I really do believe the more you wean yourself off of having to pray about everything, I think it honors God. I don't think it diminishes God. I think it's saying, no, this is what you were created to be. I mean, don't you just keep seeing these little hidden gems all through the scriptures? What does the voice say to Moses? I'm gonna do these signs in front of Pharaoh, and you will be God to Pharaoh. He doesn't say, I'm going to show my great power. He says, I'm going to do these amazing things that's going to make you look like this formidable force. And milked it, man. 10 different plagues. Now, let me show you off one more time. Let's go on. Rhonda Byrne has written a lot about law of attraction. Good writer. There are no accidents or coincidences in life. Everything is synchronicity because everything has a frequency. It's simply the physics of life and the universe in action. I mostly agree with that. I would say about a 90% yes. I do think like attracts like. I really do. Like if you're always hearing gossip, if people are always gossiping to you, you might want to take a look at that. Why are you attracting that? Y'all know Bob and Cindy Bishop. They go to Judas Church, and they're sweet. They're angels, and they started with me in my first building, and it's fine with me that they go out there. They're friends with Judah's grandparents. It's all good. But I remember one time Cindy said to me, she says, you talk about people saying negative things about the church. In all the years we've lived there, we've never heard anything. Nobody's ever said anything negative about you or Church of the Now to us. I said, that doesn't surprise me. Because you've probably you're not on that wavelength. You don't live in that zone. You don't say, because I guarantee you, if you bug their house, they've probably never said a negative word about me. That's just the way they're wired. She said, we never, we both work, and this is back when I was on TV and very visible. She says, we never hear anybody say anything. Well, that's interesting. Now, I don't want you to think, uh-oh, I've heard a lot of stuff. It's not an absolute. But if people are complaining to you all the time, you need to examine what am I sending out. I wrote this the other day, and I just made a little observation of it. And I was amazed at the outpouring of response that I got. Because, yes, I hear from a lot of people who, need prayer or whatever, and it's fine. That's what I do. I'm a spiritual leader. But I noticed, remember when I posted last month, I said I walked into Starbucks one day, and while I was waiting, the barista, she just opened up to me and said, I'm thinking about leaving this job and going back to school and looking for a whole other career. We just, with no lead up to it. And I said, well, you could totally do it. I said, I went right into prophetic mode. I said, you stay here as long as you can, but if you want to, we just had this moment where she told me her dream, and I said, it just occurred to me, people have always walked up to me and just told me their problems. I mean, always. But I've noticed in the last year or so, strangers have walked up to me and started telling me their dreams. I said, I don't know when this shifted, and I'm not saying I'll never hear a problem again, but it's just very interesting. Why would a stranger want to tell you? And it's happened. The more I thought about it, I thought, yeah, this has been happening for months now. Like I'll be on the MARTA train and somebody will say, I'm thinking about going back to school. Are you talking to me? Well, okay. You think I'm too old? No. Go to school. Do well. And have this little moment. Why did this person want to tell me? I don't know. Something, I turned some corner. That's why even this, y'all are so low maintenance. That this thing I posted the other night, because I said, somebody just texted me, not from Metron. And somebody asked me to do a funeral, not from Metron. Because I wanted to say, there was no agenda to it, but it's like, it's not y'all. Y'all are so streamlined now. You're like, it's life or death. Would you please agree? I agree. All right, I'm going to live. It's just like, we've cut out so. Can you imagine now if I said, we are now going to pray, our great, beneficent, almighty, all-seeing. You'd be like, what are we doing? We ain't got time for that. We're en route to the emergency room. We just need a yes. Well, that to me is the greatest. What Jackie just said is we turn the corner with you. That's, to me, the ultimate synchronicity for me. Well, in a lot of ways, Robert, you're synchronistic for me because our paths, you think about the lives, since I've known you since 1981, we have lived completely different existences in a parallel universe and are still, like when I saw that billboard last night, I don't even say hello when I call Robert. I called, he answered. I said, I just passed this billboard that says, even Democrats will confess Jesus Christ as Lord. Like we talked about it for a minute. And I said, I don't know why I just wanted to tell you that. Because you'll get why I thought that was interesting. And you need those. For me personally, certain people, and I could put a lot of people in that category. Doug Wentz is in that category. John Scott is. A lot of people that have had a similar background to mine and are now Jeremy Lopez. People who are Dr. Martin. People who, if I made a reference to Chelsea speaking in tongues today, knew what I meant. I could have said, Robert, come interpret that. It's called scat singing. You would have probably come up and if you didn't hear, Robert said I was that close to giving the interpretation, and it rhymed. Oh, Lord. But those synchronistic relationships are very important to me now because they kind of are touchstones for me. Like, wow, that's interesting. I like seeing. Well, I mentioned it with Pam. When she first came, Pam's. All I could ever say about her over the years is, well, she's a worshiper. Worship was, paramount. And when she came here, I thought, I don't know if she's going to get meditation. She said, oh no, it seems like the logical, next step from worship. And I said, well, I think so too, but that's like not everybody would get that. Because if you say that out loud, it's like, why do you hate God? No, I'm not hating God. I've just moved past something that's beautiful, and I get it, and sometimes enjoy listening to it. I'm just in a different place. Like my image of God now is while I'm like saying, "You're so wonderful, you're so awesome." I picture God saying, "Put your hands down and go outside and do what I created you to do." Does that make sense? I feel like God's like, "I know I'm awesome. You go be awesome now." Like, so, and if that's where you still are, that's amazing. Go for it. But synchronistic relationships for me, and that's why I don't want to argue. Sometimes people that I know will post something online that I think, I don't know if this is a subtle rebuke to me, if this is passive aggressive, and if it is, they're entitled to their opinion. I don't want to argue with you. I quit arguing about the rapture long before I stopped believing in it. It's like that's whatever's going to happen. As I've told you forever, if there is one, I promise I'm flying with you. And as we're in midair, I'll be like, "My bad. I was just sure this wasn't going to happen." But I promise you will see that I'm right. But in the meantime, say what you got to say. It's fine. Namaste. Go with God. That's when you've really grown up. It's like, wow, people can argue the scriptures with you, and you're like, no, that's clearly one way to look at it. And if that's the way you choose to see it, then see it. It's called rightly dividing the word. In your opinion, that's right. So there you have it. When people say, "We're a Bible-believing church," I'm like, well, which Bible? Because you can make it say whatever you want to say. All right. This Mark and Angel, I don't remember their last names, but I guess they're a husband and wife team. Really cool stuff. I was looking a lot. I even posted one of their quotes last night. Very, they're not like mystical. They're more like very practical in a really good way. I don't know that much about them. I really like them, and this is their quote. It says, "We waste our time waiting for the ideal path to appear, but it never does, because we forget that paths are made by walking, not waiting." What? And no, you should not feel more confident before you take the next step. Taking the next step is what gradually builds your confidence. What? This is why, fasten your seatbelt, because I'm about to rock your world. But when people say, "I don't know what we're going to do, I don't know what we're going to do," we're just waiting on God. God's going to do something. I want to go, "Sucker!" I mean, I do, because I want to go, well, you're going to be waiting a long time. Well, are we supposed to wait on the Lord? Do you know when Isaiah says, "They that wait upon the Lord will renew their strength"? You know what the Hebrew actually said? It talks about the braiding of rope strings together until they become rope. What it's not talking about waiting like, I'm just sitting in a waiting room. It's proactive. It's like I'm sending a rope out to the future, and the future is sending a rope to me in the present, and we're braiding the rope together, and the future is pulling me toward it, and I'm pulling the future toward myself. It doesn't mean at all what we thought it meant. Like, well, yeah, yes, exactly. What Jackie said is like a waiter waiting on you. Like if a waiter came to your table in a restaurant and said, "I'm your waiter for the evening," and they just pulled up a chair and sat there and looked at you. Well, I'm waiting. Because in theory, that's what you do. You are waiting for their order. But then once you get the order, you go to the kitchen. You start doing something. You bring some food. Can you imagine if you said to the waiter or waitress, "Can we check on our food?" Like, "Oh, y'all want me to bring food? I'm a waiter. I just waited. Still waiting. So if you're not a doer, you're not a waiter. What we thought was waiting was really just either laziness or confusion or what. Like this idea that there's this profound thing that's going to open up. Like, for instance, I remember when I was in Bible college, the big joke was everybody was afraid. The big joke was, I'm afraid God will call me to be a missionary in Africa. So anytime there'd be a cloud formation that kind of looked like the continent of Africa, people would be like, don't look at it. God's going to call you. And I used to think that's not the way the call would work. If you were called to Africa, you couldn't wait to get there. You'd be like, you would be interested in African culture. You'd be reading. You couldn't. You'd be happy when you got there. This idea of, I hope God doesn't call me. You're not going. I mean, fasten your seatbelt again. If you undid it, put it back on. Most of the stuff that people said they were called to do is just stuff that they wanted to do. And they pursued it, and it worked out because they put the energy in the right way. But this idea, that's why I've got my issue with people thinking I'm okay with the idea of a soulmate. What I don't like is this idea that there's this one person you're supposed to connect with, and if you don't find them, you're never going to have happiness in your life. That's just unrealistic. Because I know people that have believed that when they have marriage trouble, they think, oh, I'm with the wrong person. No, you're just kind of a jerk. Or like, I don't think it's I mean, not always, but I mean, I've seen some people that I think, no, you're not with the wrong person. Y'all just got some issues you're not willing to resolve. Or take responsibility for. Because I don't care, and nobody answer this, especially if you're sitting by your spouse, because I'm going to get you in trouble. But there have been times in your marriage, the only reason you stayed together is that you both decided to stay together. Now, come on. That's true for everybody. If you say, it ain't true for me, it's probably true with them. They just didn't tell you. I've never thought about leaving her. Well, she's thought about leaving you. I haven't told you, but we've counseled about it several times. And don't tell them that. Bible says a fool speaks his whole mind. There was this, it was kind of a movement for a while among pastors about transparency. And, they would tell people, like, if you see a woman walking down the street, you go home and tell your wife, I looked at her and I lusted after her. I'm like, what the heck? What is wrong with you? Why would you do that? Why would you inflict that on her? Well, I just feel like I got to be delivered from lust. No, you're a man. You saw her. You looked. I mean, did you try to assault her? No. Well, then why are you going to go put that mojo on your wife? Honey, I just got to tell you, I love you, but she was better looking than you. And I looked at him like, oh, God, I hate you. TMI. And if you're condemned about it, you work that out between you and God. You don't need to go put that on her. I remember this couple, like, it's so many years ago, you can't connect the dots to figure out who this was, but he came to me and said that he'd had I don't know if you call it an affair, but I guess you could call it an affair, that he'd had with this woman years early, and his wife didn't know about it. And I just feel like I've got to tell her. And I said, are you still in contact with the woman? He said, oh, no, I wouldn't even know how to get in touch with her. I said, well, do you still have feelings for her? No. Well, then what? I don't get it. Why do you want to? Because you're going to go alleviate your conscience, but for her, this is going to be new news. I said, you're just dealing with your own guilt. But are you trying to get back with her? He said, oh, God, no. I love my wife. I said, well, then why do you want to go? And, buddy, he went right to her and told her anyway. And, of course, they split up. And I'm like, what was wrong with you? I'm not saying, like if he said, we're sneaking around and I can't get her out of my. I think, well, you need to come clean and tell. But if it's something that happened, especially if you're like one of those believing in the blood thing, you put that business under the blood as soon as possible. What you bringing that? But didn't you ever hear that about the sea of forgetfulness thing? What you out there fishing in the sea of forgetfulness? Put an anchor on it, yes. But that's just maturity. Why would you want to go tell them something that's just going to hurt them? It's not going to fix anything. It's not necessary. You think about some of the like parents that told their children, "You weren't wanted, but we had you anyway." Like, why would you say that? Look, there's some kids that were accidents that ended up being huge blessings. So why put that on somebody to say, make them feel unwanted? It's like I don't understand why people got to tell so much stuff. It's not necessary. What? Oh. But sometimes oops babies are wonderful. Do you know what I mean? It's like, wow, this is a great surprise. I mean, that's just the way life is. I mean, doesn't a lot of this just come with maturity? When you realize, oh, well, you can't plan everything out in life, but some stuff happens, and it just does. And it is what it is, and you get through it, and you don't have to tell all your business and whatever. Let me stay on synchronicity, because Dr. Dyer says, this is called synchronicity, a state in which you almost feel as if you are in a collaborative arrangement with fate. This is what I feel about planning for the future. What is that? I keep seeing people post this. I think you've posted it, but I may misquote it. There was something about removing any energy from yourself that is not in line with what you want to create. You know what I'm talking about? It's a quote along those lines. And like for instance, last night there's a store we like to go to in Chattanooga. We went by there before we drove home last night. We didn't buy anything, but they've already got all their spring stuff out. And Ken picked up a shirt. It's like a long sleeve denim Hawaiian shirt. It had palm trees on it. And I said, that would be really cool, like a vacation, like if you're on vacation. And we're saying, I said, it really look good with white jeans, and we're really getting excited about it. And we didn't buy it, but we're aware that spring is coming. So if you're planning for something, you start projecting. Like when people have said to me, I want another job. I've got to get another job. And I say, well, have you done any looking for one? No. Well, then you don't really want one. I mean, look, with the internet now, you don't have to hire a headhunter. At least just get on, if nothing else, get on LinkedIn. I mean, there's so many possibilities. If you say, I want another job, you start sending out some stuff. I'm not saying it's all about looks, but I've met single people that say, I just want a relationship. I just want one. And I look at them and I think, not today you don't. Like if you believe that the person of your dreams could show up any day, if that's what you really look. Now, if you're not looking for it, fine. But if you think he could be at Publix today, well, then put a little lipstick on when you go to Publix, just in case. Because if you're really thinking it could happen, you don't want to have like, oh, I've met the man of my dreams. I look terrible. Can I come back? No, this was your opportunity. This was it. I wish I'd gotten their number. Well, then get their number. I'm thinking about writing a book. Well, have you ever written a journal? No. You ever post anything online? No. Yeah. You might want to baby step that up a little bit, because you don't just jump into writing a book. Rarely does that happen. So I love this idea of an arrangement with fate. It's like you start putting things out there, and then it's beautiful. It's like these little confirmations come floated. They're not sometimes they're very subtle, but just little like, oh, that's interesting that person, I'm thinking about that, and then this person said that. That's interesting. I mean, haven't you ever noticed, like I was listening to I listened to a lot of podcasts about certain movies that I'm very interested in backstory. And there was this one, I was listening to this about this one director who had made this one movie, and they were talking about the book that it was written on, who it was based on. And I didn't really know anything about that author, so I was Googling him and thought, oh, I didn't know he wrote that. That's interesting. Since then, in the last few days, his name's popped up several places. Like last night, I was watching something on TV. I thought, oh, he wrote that too. That's interesting. So even if you just have a little bit of energy towards something, I mean, it's like the universe wants to play. And if you just like put it out there, a word or whatever, it's like the universe starts sending stuff back to you. Like, well, here's some things. See what you think about that. And then finally, the Dalai Lama said, I am open to the guidance of synchronicity and do not let expectations hinder my path. I like that because he's basically saying sometimes there's an obstruction to something and it's just a thing. It doesn't become a thing until you make it a thing. You know, like back in the day, I don't know if you used to hear this when you used to pastor, but I would hear people say, I was coming to church this morning and we ran over a nail. My tire went flat. And I said, devil, you're not going to keep me from going to church. And I think, no, it's just a law of physics. Your tire ran over a nail. It's an aggravation. But if you keep reading stuff, if you keep deifying things like this, I don't think demons are out there making that happen, but you've created spiritual warfare. It's the craziest thing. When I opted out of spiritual warfare, it stopped immediately. It just stopped. Once I stopped fighting the devil, it's amazing. There's like, where'd he go? But if you pick at stuff, if you aggravate it, if you overthink it, if you overreact it, it's your creative power that's making the thing happen, including your own resistance to things. I'm telling you. I've learned this over and over again. I've learned if there's something I've got to do, that I need to get my attitude right about it, because if I don't, my own attitude about it will create obstacles that can be interpreted as spiritual warfare, and it's not. It's me. It's the universe saying, "Oh, you don't want to go? Well, I'll create a reason for you not to go." That's why I told you that when we were in LA a few years ago. Oh, we had such a good time, and it went so fast. And we were about to go to the airport, and I was just about to propose, I'm not ready to go home yet. And something in me said, don't put that on there, because you're going to create an obstacle. You're going to get on the plane, and they're going to say, there's a bolt missing. You know, like you're going to create a reason not to go home. So I just said, no, we're going home. Home's great. If we're going to stay an extra day, then we'll stay an extra day. But to get on the airport or the airplane going, I don't even want to go home. Don't do that. You're cursing the airplane. I get on, if I don't enjoy flying that much, but when I do, I'm like, it's going to be a great flight. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to have the right seat. I want to get into it. Because if you keep talking about how much you hate traffic, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get caught in every traffic jam there is. I hear it constantly. People say, how do you deal with all that traffic in Atlanta? I'm like, I don't run into it that much because I don't hate it that much. So the other day, last Saturday, it got to me, but that was other things going on. But for the most part, it's just, I live in a city. A lot of people have cars. It creates traffic. And because of that, it's just always flowing. Lately, I've been getting to places ahead of schedule. How did I get here? I don't know, because traffic doesn't bother me. If things don't bother you, you don't get their attention, and they don't start messing with you. I'm telling you, it's like God speaking to Job out of the whirlwind. Because basically, here's the message of Job. God says, Job, it's all you. You did it all. And boy, that makes some people freak out when you say that. But when you read the whole thing, God comes to him out of the whirlwind and says, Job, it wasn't me or the devil. It was you. The day that you can say, it was me, I own it, is the day you will grow up. It is the day you will put away childish things. It is the day your life will start getting better. It is the day you will begin to get in the flow. And it's the day that synchronicity will kick in. I promise you, if you can say it and mean it, the entire universe will give you one big synchronistic yes. Let's all stand. What? That was good. I don't even have to ask. You know it's the truth. Please remain standing. Let's play this.
Contributing to Metron is quick and easy.
Easy peasy.
You can give anytime using any smartphone.
Anytime.
Text the amount you would like to donate to
And then double it.
404-620-5044. You will then receive a notification that you successfully completed your donation. You may also visit bishonthennow.com and click the support tab to give there as well. When you contribute to Metron, you're also donating to the charity or organization of the month. Thank you for your investment into Metron.
If you're making a check, make it the JESM. Danny will receive that. If you have cash, pay it forward. Robert, come say a word over everybody and say a little something. The one, the only, Roberto Rutherford.
I say, I'm here today. I'm not here to play, okay? Okay? Yeah. If you don't know about rhyming promises, you know. My nephew is in Piedmont, and he's on life support, and it's a long story, but he's where he needs to be. The experts are there, and things are well. And last week, I was with him at another hospital. He's been in the hospital a month, basically. And he asked me to plan his funeral, and he's at peace with going. He's 45 years old, but he said, look, I've lived my life. I lived a hard life. And if I'm ready to go. I have forgiven everybody that I need to forgive. I've asked forgiveness of everybody I need to ask. He said, I'm straight with the Lord, so I want you to do my funeral. I said, well, of course I will. He said, so I'm going to tell you a few things I want. So we went through a few details, and he said, oh, pallbearers. I hadn't thought about my pallbearers. And he sat there for a minute. He said, who do I want to carry me in death? And I thought of it as he said it. He said, who has carried me in life? And I said, you know what? Somebody needs to come up with a name for these people that carry us in life. General Swilley, you're my life bearer. You're one of my people that have carried my life. You know, if my body ever needs to be carried somewhere, I'm not going to ask you to do that. It's going to take some stronger people. I mean, some big. No, but you've carried me in life, and that's what really counts. And how exciting is it to have somebody on your team that's carried your life? Isn't that an amazing thing? I told a friend on the way over here, I said, I'm going somewhere where the people are blessed. He said, what makes you think they're blessed? And all of a sudden, a scripture from Romans 4 popped into my mind. I've not thought about it in probably years. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impart sin. And I thought about that, and it talks about David, and it's talking about Abraham, who simply believed, and because of that, nothing was counted against him. And I felt such an urge. Thank you for letting me say this, because I wanted to say, especially to one body who's sitting here who somehow thinks that there's a list of things against you. There's nothing against you. There's nothing written against you. You don't have to answer for anything. You don't have to stand in front of a video screen of your life and watch This Is Your Life and be embarrassed in front of mama and the angels and all that stuff. Somebody didn't know that here. We're free and we're blessed. And just simply because we believe, there's no sin imputed. That means there's no list. There's nothing written down. Those people that talk about standing before a judgment seat and they pull out that thing that looks like a CVS receipt, you know, that goes on and on and on. It's like there is no such list. So don't you live life thinking that there's somebody somewhere in the sky with a list against you, you've done nothing wrong, and you're righteous completely right now. And I'm so glad to be one of you. So thank